Lilymo Games has turned into a studio and developer that I want to keep an eye out for. I happen to have the opportunity to play Twin Breaker when it originally came out and enjoyed that title. Following this, I wanted to take a look into their past, and there I found Habroxia, a retro space shooter that very much represents the best from that time that it was influenced by. It was after all of this that this developer was one that I wanted to continually follow and see what they would make. Going forward, if I saw that they had a new game coming out, that's all I would need to be interested in it. They earned my trust. And with this now leads us to Tribreaker, and I gotta say, this game packs in a lot more surprises than I honestly would think that a game like this would have. It was really fun and really good. So like I said, I played the first title and it was a good game, fun arcade brick breaking action. Here with Tribreaker, I actually think what it does the absolute best is providing surprises and variation to the player. There are times where you're playing a level and then a new variation is thrown in. Like, instead of horizontal sliders, now you have vertical ones or something like that. But this game goes much further than that, where the basic concept of needing to either reach the end of the stage or break all of the bricks. But this is then flipped on its head through new and different gameplay variations that I just was not expecting. To tell you the truth, I had no idea if this was going to turn into a first-person shooter at any point, because of the level of surprise that this provides to the player. A key thing here is that with the enjoyment of this game, I was going into this expecting a sequel to Twin Breaker. I played the original and I knew what I was getting into. Now, I did not watch the trailer for this new one. Again, the developer built up that trust with me because of how good their prior games were. So I went into this completely blind. And there was plenty of enjoyable little moments where I was left smiling as a new level started. That was just really cool, creative, or even having a stage pay tribute to older retro games. This is why I really wanted to start with this area for this video. I wasn't expecting the surprises, and I'm glad they provided them and executed them very well. So the basic gameplay is that you control two sliders and then a ball. You use both of those as a means to break all of the bricks within a level, and then move on to the next one. This does take some getting used to since you'll be controlling both the sliders with the left and right sticks, especially with the ball as it gains momentum. This can be a bit tricky at times, and can really feel like you're trying to rub your head and your stomach at the same time. The ball now adds another element into the game, because it kind of acts like a rocket when it launches at first, and then you can control it. Along with this, as it knocks into stuff, it will gain fuel. You can use that fuel to then change the direction of where the ball is going. This can be really helpful to save you from losing a heart, or even hitting a specific brick that's giving you a hard time to be able to hit it when there is a lot going on screen, and I will admit that depending on the stage, this can be pretty challenging. But the more you do these brick breaking stages, the game sort of gets into this flow, or rather the player does, and you start to get a bit better at it. It's important to note too, that I very much struggled at times controlling the ball, because it uses the bumpers, and depending on what direction it's going in, I would move it to the right where I ended up actually wanting to move it to the left. I do think maybe having an option to have the bumpers always on, like that on the HUD of the ball, would really help the player in those instances, or maybe have that as a toggle in the options. Now the brick breaking stages have some fun power-ups as well, like a hardball that can be used to crush anything, one that expands your slider, even a debuff that will shrink it for a period of time, a multi-ball, and if you get a bunch of these, it's really nuts and really chaotic fun. Along with that, you can also get some more health. A nice feature is how if you lose all of your health, you can actually opt to buy a heart with the points that you have earned in that level. Yes, this is an arcade game at its core, and it will be all about those points and getting the highest rank in each of the stages. For those that want it, some of the stages might take you a while to really get that S tier. The first of many nice surprises was the inclusion of boss fights. The first one is pretty neat as you need to damage specific bricks on the boss to be able to get to his final opening. It follows a familiar pattern, and other bricks to deal with as well as obstacles to damaging that boss. What I was not expecting was the series of levels that followed this stage. It is where you take control of the ball, where you're put through a gauntlet of crazy situations, and I really loved it. Like for the second part of the boss, you go right into the boss and do some damage right there just controlling the ball. I thought this was just going to be this nice little touch to add on to the fight. Then I had a bunch of stages where I was just controlling the rocket. Like in one instance, I couldn't crash. Then there was another where I was operating the ball and it was sort of like a snake, and I could not touch my tail or it would blow up. Another was where you were shot out of a cannon and you had to get to the end of the stage. There's even a Frogger-like stage, along with a few others that are right out of Pac-Man, with even a Pac-Man-like boss to contend with. It was like at this point I'm like, are any of these stages going to be a shooter? I honestly wouldn't be surprised, and at the same time be pleasantly surprised. And then I was in a stage where now my ship was armed with a gun and rockets. It was at this point I really wanted to applaud the developer for this really fun string of mixing up the gameplay and surprises. It was like you came in for the brick-breaking action, and then you stayed for all of these surprises. It's very rare for a game to do that nowadays, and maybe most of the stuff was actually spoiled in the trailer. I don't know, I didn't watch it, and I realize that I just spoiled this for all of you right now watching it. But for me, going through this for the first time, this was an absolute delight. Now, I did have a few flaws with this title. My big one being is that I felt like level 12 went on for far too long. I appreciate the change up in the gameplay, but it was far too long and felt like it killed some of the momentum pacing that it had at that point. Before we move to the conclusion, I want to mention and highlight the soundtrack here. Tribreaker has some really good tunes. Here are a few tracks from the game. I thought I knew what to expect going in for the sequel for Twin Breaker, and then I ended up being pleasantly surprised because of what the developer was able to do here with Tribreaker. Gameplay-wise, at times, it felt like a really good example of subverting your expectations, and again makes me eager and see what this developer will do in the future because of this. Because honestly, I don't know what they're going to do, but it's probably going to be good. Plus, there is a story here as well with some nice chemistry and humor between the leads. Tribreaker is both very fun and manages to subvert your expectations in the best possible way. I recommend it. Have you heard of Tribreaker? Have you played any of their other games? Let me know in the comments down below. If you're interested in supporting the channel, please check out my Patreon page. For just $1 a month, you can help to keep this channel going strong, and this allows me to be able to do more for my awesome audience. Please check out the links in the description and pinned comment for ways to support the channel. And most of all, thank you very much for watching.